Let's get started here. I want to say thank you so much for coming today. We have a webinar today that's going to be for condominiums and homeowners associations, as well as contacts from the private industry from our speaker today, Sara Finkelstein. What I'd like to do is start out today by certainly saying something about the Queen. So rest in peace, the dear Queen Elizabeth II. And with that, I just want to get on to say that I am Peggy West. I'm your organizer today and excited to present Sara Finkelstein. She is going to present minimizing financial mistakes while maximizing income retirement, something we all should be aware of and touch on periodically throughout our lives. To start off, I want to do a sponsor introduction, starting with Vinteum software. I have Layla Scola on. She's also our moderator today. She's the head of marketing at Vinteum Software. So please tell us about yourself and also about the company.
Thank you so much, Peggy. My name's Layla. I'm head of marketing here at Vinteum Software. I've been working with Vinteum for 4 years now. Vinteum is a digital company that's been in the market for almost 10 years. We focus on improving communication and management with our software Neigbrs, which makes websites for HOAs and condos. And we also focus on improving safety with our new property inspection tool, Inspections by Vinteum.
Very good. Thank you so much. Very excited about your new product. And if y'all don't have a website, this is the company to look at. I highly recommend them because that's why I partner with them. And next I want to introduce Liliana Ziano from Bank United. She's the Vice President of Business Development. Lilia, tell us about yourself and about the bank.
Good morning. Good Friday. I know we're all getting ready for a long weekend, but I'm working in Bank United for a little bit more than 3 years. Been doing this for probably past 25 years. What I'm concentrating, I'm helping to HOA and condo association as well as the property management to better manage budgets as well as the treasury management, or let's say if they need, now we all know that it's time for budgeting and we're all getting ready for some certain renovations, roofing, asphalting, anything that we need, where we're helping them to obtain additional funds in terms of renovation, construction loans. Please reach out if you need the help. Also, we're minimizing cost and treasury management in case when you processing your payments, collecting your monthly fees from tenants or from the owners of condominiums. We're helping to do this fast as possible and easiest way and less costly. So please reach out to me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. She also does commercial loans and commercial business with private industry as well. So you forgot to mention that. Moving on now, let's introduce the paving lady, Dawn Miller. She's the Director of Business Development and Woman of the Year for one of our area associations. So Dawn, tell us about yourself and the company.
Dawn doesn't seem to be on the line. So if you'd like to give her a little shout out, Peggy.
Yes, the paving lady has been around for almost 30 years now. They had a new owner about 10 years ago, and Dawn is the representative. They do everything from seal coating to new paving jobs, concrete repairs, and so on. So like she says, if you have a bad driveway or bad concrete or bad paving job, it's your own asphalt. Those are quoted from her. Next, I'd like to introduce Bill Kilgallen. Bill is the tax principal at Hafer Company. Bill, tell us about yourself and also about Hafer.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Bill Kilgallen with Hafer CPAs. What an intro, Peggy. Thank you. Our firm serves over 750 associations. We provide audit, tax, and consulting services. On the audit side for HOAs and POAs and condos, we have 3 levels of audit services. The lowest being compilations, the next step being reviews, and then full-blown audits. And now that we're in the budget season, as everyone knows, We can help you understand the new rules regarding the building inspections and the bigger thing, reserve funding. So give us a call. If you got any questions whatsoever, we'll put our contact information down in the box, and have a great class and a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill. Awesome. And thanks for coming today. Also, the next sponsor I'd like to introduce is LM Funding. Jimmy Gonzalez, longtime friend of mine as well. And he is the Regional Business Development Manager. Jimmy, tell us about yourself and LM Funding.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here with us today. This is a very, very important topic. LM Funding is a specialty finance company in the Condo HOA Association industry. We started off in 2008, helping associations to have attorneys collect their past due assessments. We're at the same spot now today as we were in 2008. We just got a new report from Adam, which is a real estate data firm, and the bank foreclosures have increased since pre-pandemic times 219%. And from last month, it went up another 14%. So we're on the way again. If it wasn't for the pandemic, this probably would have taken place a couple of years ago. We're here to offer our services. We have over 14,000 election events in our history, and we are a publicly traded company. Our claim to fame is we give you the cash for delinquencies when you send in each unit, and if there's not a legal way to collect, then we pay all of the attorney's fees and costs. Nothing burdens more the association. So if you have any situations that you can fall on, please give me a call. We can discuss the options. Thank you very much and enjoy the seminar.
Thanks, Jimmy. Awesome presentation there. Great way to collect money and save money at the same time. Last, I'd like to introduce a new sponsor to me and a new contact, but a dear friend to our speaker, Sara Finkelstein. Guaranteed rate. We have James Matarazzo here on. And James, would you tell us about yourself and the company and what you do?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. James Matarazzo with Guaranteed Rate. I've been in the residential mortgage lending industry in South Florida since 1988. And I specialize in condominiums. We're in condominium heaven down here in South Florida. Guaranteed Rate is a national lender and actually has their own condo project approval department, which helps my buyers get the financing for the condominiums, as well as single family homes, 1 to 4 unit properties as well. So anything that has to do with residential lending, 1 to 4 units, especially condos, James Matarazzo, Guaranteed Rate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to interacting with you as well at a later date. And with that, we're going to get started with our speaker. I have the pleasure today of introducing Sara Finkelstein. She is a financial specialist and also a specialist in her own right of being an author. And I would like to read a little bit about her. She's been a Florida resident since 1990 and joined the financial arena in 1996. A lot of experience here. She empowers American families to enjoy peace of mind by planning in advance. She is the author of 3 books now, which include The Wisdom for Women, Discover the Challenges You Must Overcome to Live the Life and Retirement You Deserve. And her latest book that's been out, I think, in the last 3 or 4 months is called Straight to the Point, Finally an Easy Medicare Education for Boomers and Seniors, the conclusive, clear, and complete guide. Make no mistakes. A roadmap to Medicare, and brought to you by MedicareLady.com. Along with that, you can also know that you can get any one of these books on Amazon. Recently, she became a registered Social Security analyst, providing pre-retirees and retirees with professional Social Security strategies while creating income you cannot outlive. Sarah, I'm glad to present you, and I appreciate you being here today. Please start your presentation.
Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I thank all the sponsors and everybody who's tuning in. Welcome. I would like to now just share my screen. Let's start from the beginning. So, welcome to minimizing financial mistakes while maximizing income in retirement. I strongly think that retirement should be thoroughly enjoyed, and I imagine that everybody here would agree with me. Today, you will learn about a gentleman who lost $1 million, and it could have been very easily prevented. You will also hear about an 80-year-old who's still working, happy about it, and why. And you'll learn about the two most common fears people have. And I want you to know that they can be defeated. So let's get started. So let's talk about, first of all, my two books, which Peggy, thank you for sharing that information. Yes, they are available on Amazon. But for all of you, I urge you to stay to the end of the presentation, because you will each get a book emailed to you, both copies of the books emailed to you. So please hang in there, stay till the end. I promise you, you'll learn a lot today.
Can I interject, please? I forgot to mention, and I apologize for interjecting. Everyone on the call, you have a question and answer Q&A box. Put your questions in there as you go along, and our moderator, Layla, will pick them up and interact with Sarah. And also, sponsors, you may put your contact information in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. So when I joined the financial industry, which was back in 1996, I started my career with Prudential Insurance and Financial Services. And the very thing, first thing I learned, and they kept hounding us with this, was people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. And this is a quote by Benjamin Franklin. So planning is at the core of a carefree retirement. Here are some of the financial mistakes that people make. So number one is many people do not have an emergency fund, or if they do, it's not an adequate emergency fund. Now, why do we need an emergency fund? Well, things happen unexpectedly. Like what happened to us most recently was we had to get a brand new air conditioner. When you're a homeowner, you come across things that have to be done. What about getting new tires? So things happen that we don't plan for, but they do happen. And if you don't have an emergency fund, then what do? Typically, Americans will turn to putting that purchase on a credit card. And oftentimes that credit card has a high interest to it. So it is important to have an emergency fund so you don't waste money on paying the credit card company interest fees. They love you for that, but wouldn't it be better for you to use that money for your own benefit? Layla, could I ask you to put up the poll?
Of course, let me launch it. So you're going to see a poll on your screen. Please do go ahead and answer that. So the question is, do you know how much income you'll need in retirement to maintain your current lifestyle? Yes or no? 3 people have said no. 1 person said yes. It's all coming in now.
Great.
All right, I think that is everyone. Should I share the results?
Sure.
So we have 42% of people saying yes, they do know, and the majority, 58%, saying no, they don't.
And it is important to know what that is. Number two problem that many Americans have is not saving enough. Did you know that 25% of the population has no retirement plan whatsoever? And 75% of Americans are not saving enough. Another issue is having the legal documents in place. Do you have a will? Do you have a power of attorney, a living will, a healthcare surrogate? These are important documents to have so that your family doesn't have to deal with a catastrophe. And by the way, I know about probate because my husband and I lost his mom 3 years ago. Probate is very expensive. So get your documents in order so that your family does not have to go through the lengthy process and the expense of probate. Another issue is people underestimate how long they live. Now we're living longer than ever before. For example, my husband's grandmother is 99. She's going to be 100 in December. Her oldest sister lived to be 106. And oftentimes when I'm working with seniors, I hear it so often. They tell me, I never expected to live so long. So we are living longer. And with that comes the challenge to make sure that our nest egg will last us throughout our lifetime. And a good rule of thumb these days is plan on retirement to live through 100. Because if you don't live to 100 and you only make it to your 90s, well, you've planned appropriately. But if you only plan to live to 80 and you make it to 95 and you've run out of money, that is not a good place to be. Another issue that many Americans encounter is not having enough life insurance or not understanding the different types of life insurance policies on the market, what their benefits are. And if you don't know the differences, maybe you don't have the right plan for you. So life insurance and all types of insurance are the foundation of your financial plan. Before you start to gamble your dollars in the market, make sure that you have your solid foundation in place. And by the way, for those of you who have term insurance at work, did you know that that term insurance stops when you leave your job? And did you know, for those of you that do have term insurance outside of your job, do you have the kind that has living benefits so that you can benefit from your policy while you are alive? Yes, those policies do exist. Another issue is leaving behind your 401k plan when you leave your employer. And it's not uncommon for people to have 1, 2, or even 3 401k plans with previous employers. And what the issue might be is maybe it's not positioned properly for you. So you should take a look at those and maybe make some changes if that's in your best interest. We always want to do what's in our best interest. And when I work with clients, that is my goal, is to help them to do what is in their best interest. Another big problem is that we are not planning for healthcare costs in retirement. 70% of people over the age of 65 will need long-term care. And unfortunately, most of us are just not prepared for this. A lot of people have their head in the sand when it comes to this particular topic. Yet take a look at the statistic, 70%, 7 out of 10, which is much greater probability than, God forbid, ending up in a car accident or having a fire in one's home. Yet I think most of us wouldn't dare to go without auto insurance and without homeowners insurance. But the need for long-term care is much, much greater. And it is not cheap when you have to pay for it out of your pocket. There have been some studies that have been done which talk about how much money retirees need to allocate for healthcare costs. And I've seen some reports that say a couple retiring at 65 should allocate $250,000 for their healthcare. I've seen other reports that are higher than that. I've seen reports that say $387,000 need to be allocated. There's a great disparity in those numbers. However, it is a big number and it needs to be planned for accordingly so that you don't get hurt and your family doesn't get hurt in the process.
Can I
know how
interject
many-
something?
I'm sorry?
I wanted to interject something. Years ago, I used to have a sales position where I would call on skilled care, nursing homes, the whole medical gambit. There is a huge difference in the care level of the state provided facilities versus private facilities. And that has stuck in my mind forever. So that is one thing to think about. How do you want to be cared for? What's your quality of life going to be in just a regular state care facility?
Thank you, Peggy. I happen to love Zig Ziglar. I don't know how many of you have not heard of him, but he was a wonderful author, motivational speaker. He is gone now, but he has written, I don't know how many books. And Zig Ziglar said, money isn't everything, but it's reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. I think number one, health is very, very important. But number two is money, because money gives us choices and options. With money, we can get the best care, as Peggy was talking about. So money is important. And of course, it's not everything. When I had an office in downtown Delray, we had a pillow that says, money isn't everything, but it sure keeps the children close. Another issue is not having a mortgage protection plan in place. Let's face it, most of us have a mortgage, but we don't have a mortgage protection plan, which means what? If you become ill, a critical illness like a heart attack, cancer, or a stroke, and you're not able to work, and what happens to your mortgage payments? This is a very, very important piece of your financial plan. If you have a mortgage, you should consider very seriously having a mortgage protection plan. And of course, I do work in that area. Another big issue is when it comes to Social Security. Most Americans claim their Social Security benefits way too early. Which means what? Which means that they are locking in a much smaller monthly benefit. Remember, you could start collecting Social Security as early as age 62. But for every year that you delay beyond your full retirement age, you get an extra 8%. I actually also do Social Security workshops, and I have one coming up in October. And I talk about this very thing because a lot of people don't realize if you can be patient, you will get a bigger check. So for example, if your full retirement age is age 66 and you delay to age 70, now you're going to get 132% plus all of the cost of living adjustments along the way. So sometimes it makes sense to seriously consider delaying your Social Security benefits so you can get a much bigger number. I see this a lot. People work hard, they save for their retirement years, and once they get there, They're afraid to spend the money because they want to leave it to their children and grandchildren. So they sacrifice themselves. They don't go on that trip that they've been dreaming about for decades. They don't move into the fancy dream home. They don't buy that sports car that they've been wanting to purchase, only because they want to leave it to their children. So what happens then? Well, their children are the ones who go on that trip, who buy the fancy house and the expensive sports car. And it doesn't have to be that way. We understand that your loved ones are important to you and you want to leave money to them, but there are ways that you can have both things. You could leave them a legacy and you can also enjoy your retirement. And another issue that people make is they either put all of their money in the bank, which, yes, it's safe, but it's not growing, or they put all of their money at risk, which is in the market where there is tremendous potential for growth, but you can also lose money. So you have to have a balance between the two. Some money that's positioned for growth and some money that is safe and guaranteed. So now let's talk about part two, which is how do you maximize income in retirement? As I spoke about before, a lot of people elect their Social Security retirement benefits too early. There are strategies to maximize your Social Security benefits, and that is on a case-by-case basis. I'm not saying that everybody should delay collecting their retirement benefits, and I'm not saying that everybody should take it at 62 at the earliest time. It depends on each person's situation. Some people that may have health issues and may not have a long life expectancy, maybe it's better for them to collect sooner. I'm just wondering how many people that are on this call today think that taxes will be going up. I do think that taxes will be going up. And there are solutions so that you can have tax-free income in retirement. How many of you have a Roth IRA? Did you know that the Roth IRA grows tax-free so that you don't have to pay taxes on that money? As opposed to a traditional IRA, which is before tax dollars. So eventually you will be paying taxes on that money. Same thing with a 401k plan. Eventually that money becomes fully taxable because it's never been taxed. And if we believe that taxes will be higher in the future, maybe we need to think about some tax-free income strategies so we can benefit from that in our retirement years. How many of you have heard about the safe money formula? I actually wrote an article a number of years ago, which was printed in the Palm Beach Post about the safe money formula. And the safe money formula is based on age. So as we get older, a smaller portion of our portfolio should be at risk. The majority should be safe and guaranteed. Now, granted, some people are more aggressive, and yet some people are more conservative, but that is the rule of thumb. For example, let's say you're 70 years old. That means by using the safe money formula, that means that 70% of your nest egg should be safe. Only 30% should be at risk, because we know the market has up years and the market has down years. So the market gives and the market takes. And when you're in retirement and the market has a downfall, is not the best time to have all of your money at risk. Here's an idea. How about delaying retirement a little bit, or maybe working part-time and not retiring at 100%. An 80-year-old man that I recently met, who actually made a house call as we were looking for new window treatments, told us how he had retired and couldn't stand it and had to go back to work. And it wasn't for money reasons, because he has sufficient cash flow coming in, but he needed to do something to keep his mind at work and keep busy and have a place to go. And his skills are very, very much needed at his workplace. So my dad too had retired and he didn't know what to do with himself. He was one of these people that had no hobbies. And so when he retired, he just had all this time on his hands and didn't know what to do with his time. So he ended up going back to work part-time, and it made him much, much happier. On the flip side, I do have clients that are fully retired, very busy, running here, running there, tennis games, lunch with friends. And they tell me this, they say, I don't know how I ever had time to work. I'm so busy now. And it's really funny. Saving regularly is really important, even in retirement. And granted, you may not be able to save each and every month, but as long as you could save a little bit some of the time, even in retirement, you will find that it will benefit you. People, unfortunately, are not saving enough for their future. I have clients that are used to making a generous income during their working years. And then when they are retired, it's a different ball game, because now they don't have that paycheck anymore. So I hope you could see this slide okay. I always talk to people about saving, and I know that for a young person, it's really hard to think about saving for their future, because it seems like many, many decades down the road. It seems too far for them to really think about it seriously. But here's an example that I'd like to share with you. And this is showing a 25-year-old who starts saving $5,000 a year and stops in 11 years, compared to the person who procrastinated and waited till they were 35 years old to start saving. They put in twice as much money, actually more than twice as much money, into their savings vehicle. So they invested from 35 years old all the way to 60, whereas the younger person only invested for 11 years. And yet the younger person who invested less ended up with a whole lot more money. And why is that? Because that is the power of compounding. The younger person who put their money into the vehicle and left it there to do its thing ended up with a whole lot more money. So the moral of the story is, start to save, the sooner the better, but later than never. With credit cards, it is so easy to live beyond your means. And a lot of Americans do live beyond their means. Can you imagine how much better off we would all be if we didn't live beyond our means, if we had more disposable dollars in our pockets? Protecting your retirement nest egg with a long-term care plan. Long-term care is very, very expensive. For example, if you needed an aide to come into your home to help you with the activities of daily living, you're looking at about $25 an hour. If you needed to go into assisted living, you're looking at roughly $6,000 a month. And if you needed to go into a nursing home, which I know nobody wants to end up in a nursing home, but sometimes it does happen. A nursing home could be $100,000 a year or more, depending upon where you live. So let me ask you this. When you're saving for your retirement, when you're putting money into your IRA or your 401k plan, is your intention to spend that money to pay for healthcare costs in retirement? Or is your intention to have sufficient money in retirement so you can enjoy yourself? That is the question of the day. I wonder how many of you have heard of the rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is very, very simple, yet very powerful. So for example, let's say that you are getting 10% on your money. You divide 10 into 72, and that tells you that every 7.2 years, your money will double. Let's say you're getting 3% on your money. 3 into 72 is 24. If you're getting 3% on your money, it'll take 24 years for your money to double. I also use the rule of 72 to figure out how long before we need twice as much income to maintain our standard of living. So we are experiencing high inflation right now, higher than it's been in 4 decades. And let's say that inflation rate is 10%. Again, if you divide 10% into 72, that means in 7 years, you'll need twice as much money just to buy the same products and services that you're buying today. So the rule of 72 is very simple to use, and try it. In the old days, people would have pension plans. In other words, at their jobs, they were guaranteed that when they retired, they would get X number of dollars every month for the rest of their life. Most people do not have pension plans anymore. What do they have? They have 401k plans. And 401k plans do not provide guaranteed income in retirement. But you can create your own private pension plan. And if you'd like to explore that, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. But I want you to know that it is possible for you to have another stream of guaranteed lifetime income in addition to your Social Security benefits. Here's the guy that I mentioned earlier who lost $1 million. This was a case where his wife was working for the school board in New York. And she was young, she was in her 20s when she started, and she was given a packet of papers to fill out upon her employment. And one of those pieces of paper was a beneficiary form. She filled it out and she put her mother, her aunt, and her sister as her beneficiaries. Fast forward a few decades and she marries her husband, Bruce. They're married for about 20 years, and then suddenly she passes away. Bruce was expecting to inherit her $1 million pension. However, she never updated her beneficiary forms at work. In the interim, her mother passed away, her aunt passed away, but her sister was still alive. And this case went to the Supreme Court, and the sister won the money. She inherited the money. The husband, Bruce, did not get a penny. And of course, wouldn't you know it, the sister was not willing to share any of the money with her brother-in-law. So please make sure that your beneficiary forms are up to date. I see this often in divorce cases. Spouses forget to update their beneficiary forms. So this is very, very important.
I thought
One
you were
thing I
going to
want-
say, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry?
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say remember to get along with your in-laws.
That's good too. So there's a misconception about what average returns are and what actual returns are. In this particular example, we could see that if we invested $100 in year one and it grew to $200, we had a return of 100%. The second year, we started with 200 and it went down to 100. So we lost 50%. In year three, it went back up 100%. And then in year four, it went down by 50%. So the average return, if you divide this over 4 years, you'll find that the average return is 25%. But what did the person really make? They started with 100. 4 years later, they ended up with 100. They actually made no money on their money. That is the actual return. But the average return was 25%. Very, very telling. So at this point, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to sign up for our monthly newsletter, which is a very simple 2-page newsletter. And if you do want this, just text me and I'll be happy to add you to the database. So we'll send it out to you. Also, our next webinar that Peggy is putting on is going to be on Thursday, October 6th, and we're going to be focusing on Medicare. If you know anybody who is in that age range where they're coming close to turning 65, they get bombarded with phone calls and snail mail solicitations. They're confused and overwhelmed, and they don't know where to turn or who to trust. So if you know somebody like that, share this information with them. They could register for that date as well and join us and learn. Also, feel free to check out my show, The Sara Finkelstein Show, which is on many of the platforms out there, including YouTube, Alignable, SoundCloud. The Sara Finkelstein Show, where the next 10 minutes can change your life. And it's all about education, because education is the starting point to improve your financial future. I'm sure you've all heard the term knowledge is power, but I like to go a step further. Knowledge is the starting point. Power takes place when you implement what you learn to your benefit. And I promised that I would share with you Americans' major fears. Americans' #1 fear is running out of money before running out of life. And again, with people living longer than ever before, this is a very, very valid fear. #2, becoming a burden to their children. And I want you to know that these 2 fears can be defeated with proper planning. And this is my card. There's my phone number, my cell. You're all welcome to reach out to me if you have questions about anything. More than happy to have conversations with you, answer any questions that you might have. My cell phone is 561-302-5760.
And is that where people can sign up for the newsletter as well? A couple of people were asking.
Yes, they could text me and I'd be happy to put them on the newsletter list.
Okay. Could you go back to that slide? A few people asked to see it just so that
Sure.
they have time to write that down.
Absolutely.
And Julia has also asked if she can ask a question. Go for it, Julia. Please do type any questions that you have in the Q&A box or in the chat. That was a really interesting presentation, Sara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa said that you helped her decide about her Medicare plan. She was very pleased.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Let's see if any other questions roll in.
Okay, well, you can always get your questions answered on Sarah's text or her email. And I will be providing a sponsor sheet showing all of the sponsors of today with their contact information as well. I just had a quick question for James. Do you offer that mortgage protection plan she was mentioning?
No, that's Sarah. Sarah offers that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I didn't know if that
I
was
usually
affiliated.
refer- Yeah, I refer my clients to Sarah for that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was attached to a mortgage or how that went. So
No,
I need some information on that, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank
We
you
have one
to,
question, Peggy. Hang on.
okay.
Julia asked, if contributing to a Roth IRA, can you withdraw any after-tax money you put in without penalty fees before retirement age?
So there is some criteria to that, and you have to leave the money in the Roth for at least 5 years. But typically, any contributions that you make, you could take out.
All right, thank you. That was the only question we have. So Peggy?
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, well, I just want to thank Layla once again for moderating and coordinating. And honestly, Vinteum is the wind between my wings before these webinars, but also phenomenal product for condominium and homeowner associations. I want to thank all the rest of my sponsors. I dearly appreciate your contributions to getting our guests on. And last but not least, Sara. Great presentation, great information, and I'm looking forward to the October 6th webinar. I do want to close with something. It's a quote from Queen Elizabeth, and she said at one time, "It has always been very easy to hate and to destroy, but it's much harder to build and to cherish as much as we can to make a difference." And then lastly, I like to say, if you hear or see something, say something. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Have
Bye,
a great
everyone.
weekend, everybody.
Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.